Kindly tell us your names, please, and your character in this TASH telenovela.
Okay, so my names are Victor Momutsi. People call me Chity as well, no refuse. And in TASH telenovela, I acted like Richie as Richie. Kindly, just give me your number. I'll buy a new phone and then you come pick it after 3 weeks.
Usijali, iko sawa. Acha nikairipe mimi mwenyewe. Poa.
Okay, I'm Richardson.
Okay, what's your occupation and hobbies?
I'm a specialized human resource practitioner. My hobbies are quite many, but traveling will be one of them. Doing research about different topics, and also watching movies, series, and watching football. Yeah.
Okay, and you say people sometimes call you Chity. We can say that's a name that depicts cheating, and in TASH telenovela, you seem to cheat on your wife, she.
Hata kama si nilikwambia ni kumlazimisha kuoe but ulikuifanya na mapenzi.
I think my presentation is for fire. Anyway, I blame myself for that. Lakini najua kwamba ina guest house apunguzia pia tena rudikeshwa siku. Hivyo ndio yeye mtu asira zake kama amekasirika.
With a girl you met in a recreational center, and throughout the series you appear to be a man who somehow has a very big attraction to women. Can we say that Chity is a cheater in TASH telenovela?
Well, how can briefly describe Richie? Of course, I'm Chity. I'm Chity in my real life. I'm Chity, and I'm not a cheater. But if you want to, because now you ask me about Chity and Richie, who's Richie is a character in the TASH telenovela.
Yeah, Richie.
What I can try to say is that Richie is a man who's trying to live a good life, but then gets a very obnoxious wife who doesn't give him peace. And as we all know, that men need peace of mind. If you go to your home and you don't get that peace of mind, you can easily be tempted to look around, and at a particular point, I think viewers can agree with me that at a particular point, Richie was in a gym and she just appeared from nowhere with demands. Eventually, an opportunity gave out, and Richie went to a recreational facility, and there he happened to meet TASH. And since there was a chemistry between TASH and Richie from the incidents where the phone fell down and something came up. So yeah, I wouldn't really call that cheating, because I think Richie was vulnerable to some extent because of the misgivings of his wife, she.
Okay, the wife, she, who is very eloquent, she doesn't fear Richie.
Can't I have peace in my own house?
You got me well. For the past 3 years, we've remained the same. Is this relationship heading anywhere?
She said one thing when Richie came from the hospital, that just a single thug had a feasting on Richie. Why should Richie go to a gym when one thug can beat him? What do you think about that in the character of Richie? Why did a single thug beat him, and yet he spends most of his time in the gym?
He was hit by thugs on his way from the gym. I've just discharged him from the hospital this morning.
A single thug? There is no need of him going to the gym. Kama anaweza pigwa hivi na yani muli moja tu. Babe.
Let me not quote a job from the Bible. I suggest what he needs right now is rest.
Let me tell you for sure, that thug calling himself Voke was lucky that day. I think Richie was hungry. Angekuwa ameshiba, Voke would have seen, would have known who Richie is. But anyway, I think Voke is the kind of a guy who is always feared. He knew his territory, and to some extent he even had a knife. So that day we are talking about, Richie had taken Tash for a day out, and he was unprepared, and he was in a geographical place whereby he didn't know what was going to happen. It also appears like Voke didn't know that he'll meet Richie there and Tash, but eventually he had upper hand because it was his territory, and so what would you have expected? A fight ensued, and I think it only brought the best out of Richie. That's what I can tell.
Okay, that's great. Now Richie falls in love with Tash. Why do you think Richie fell in love with Tash?
Well, Richie is a vulnerable man. Other than getting other challenges, I think one of the most important issue that comes out is how his wife treats him, the embarrassments that he undergoes under the hands of his wife. You watch some of the episodes, and he confesses that to Zeki that I can no longer fathom the humiliation that I undergo under the hands of my wife.
Yeah. Actually, bro, my job status is attracting some mockery that is intended to humiliate me, and it's even worse when this humiliation comes from my wife, a person who should actually be motivated.
What's wrong with Cheryl? She expected you to sink into depression after sacking you. I know she also thought that you will sink into drugs to escape from the reality. She must be ashamed.
So, Richie appears to be in quest of a perfect relationship, perfect marriage, which doesn't appear that will come. First of all, the wife is a drunkard. She spends most of her time out and or brings friends in the house. So Richie is really in dire need of love and real love. And then he happens to find a woman who's also kind of desperate in life and appears to need help. Yet this girl is very innocent, and I think that is where the connection started, and boom, there it was.
Wow. So Richie seems to be a person who is not usually cautious with his moves. That's why when Rehema invited him to his house, he just went, and almost things happened in that house. Do you think Richie could have, if Rehema could have continued staying in the country, Richie could have developed something for her?
Well, I would tend to say that Richie is the kind of a person who wants to help everyone. And therefore, when Rehema called Richie, he responded to the call innocently, wanting to know what is going to happen. And of course, to some extent, Richie had seen that there is kind of an attraction between Rehema and Zeki. And so the invitation was to have discussions about Zeki, who was his friend, and therefore couldn't resist the visiting to Rehema's house. But it appears at the end of conversation, like Rehema tried to show some feelings to Richie, and which you look at the facials of Richie, and he was surprised to have seen, he didn't see that coming. I think to answer your question, I would tell you that placing the odds and how it was the story developing between Richie and Tash and the wife here, I think chances would have been very minimal for something to happen between Richie and Rehema.
before we go to what was the hardest part you shot, you realize that Richie had encountered around 4 women. D, who deals with drugs. She happens to be a guzzler when it comes to drinking. Tash, she's a drug dealer. Rehema also drinks occasionally. Or maybe she was a full-time drinker with she. And all these women tend to fall in love with not a fellow thug, Voke, but with Richie, who does not drink. What can you say about that?
Okay, first of all, let me put Rehema out of this. Rehema is what we call in Kiswahili Benera Fuata Upepo. He was influenced into drugs by she.
Okay.
I mean, most of the time you see Rehema is her with she having a good time and all that.
Yeah.
So I think she was influenced to that kind of world by she. She is the kind of wife who, kind of modern wife, who wants independence, who wants to do things on her own without getting, she doesn't want to wear the wife hat, whereby she can be responsible to her husband, she can be taking care of the kids and all that. She just wants to live her life without being questioned. So, I think that is the bit where I think Richie never liked. Because you see even in some episodes where Richie tells Tash that between you and between you and she, whoever will quit drugs is the person I'm going to marry. Listen, whoever drops hard substance and give me kids, I'll make her my eternal wife. So he was really anxious to see that either of the two rehabilitate and for them to make a good wife. You asked me about D, and D was an opportunist because D saw my contract with Doxy International, where I was getting paid around 25 million, I think. And out of that, he wanted to keep a secret from getting a portion of that amount. So, and even when I told D, please name your quote, she started saying that out of the amount, she also wants to become wife number 5.
A surprise. Na mimi hakuna kitu nakanga na D ndani. Utaniwasha tu na nitasema. It's either tusaidiane ama niseme.
Okay, what do you want? Name it and I'll do it for you.
If you're going to take me as a third wife,
are you mad? I mean, get serious. Let's stick to money matters.
Money? Okay, 4 million then.
Okay, for me, I think D was an opportunist, and you can see in all the episodes where she appears to be giving out help, she wasn't giving it freely. You had to give a tip for her to assist you in any way that you wanted. So yeah, but Tash, come to think of Tash, did Tash really love Richie? Or was he really taking advantage of the whole situation because Richie was in a position of assisting him? To some extent, I think he developed some feelings for Richie, but she had some things which she was hiding. She had a life that she was living that Richie didn't know. For instance, he still had an attraction with Richie, with Voke, despite having moved on with Richie. We see her getting back to Voke's place, hiding some money for Voke to, I think, get help from the money. Voke visits her when Richie is bathing, and still he kept that a secret. Hey, I have some commotion. What was that?
Usijali kanua ni msi wa takataka. Huwa ananibovi anafinya doorbell na kugonga mlango continuously.
So I think these ladies coming, I think everyone had their own agenda. That's what I can say.
So they were cheating on Richie.
Yes, I think all these ladies were cheating on Richie. Richie was the innocent guy there.
Okay. Now, one of the themes that come out of the relationship of Richie and she. It's lack of a child.
Okay, this girl Tash, she's pregnant.
Pregnant?
Yeah, on a ball with the useless boyfriend. So, what's your take on that? Before I give her advice enough.
What do you mean my take? If you want me to advise you that she aborts, I'm not for that.
Of course, now that's what I wanted from you. Nataka to adopt that child.
And seems that the lady who made the last call is a baby mama to Richie, which made Richie tremble. And Richie has no kid with she, and he happened also to make Tash pregnant. Do you think this was the main reason why he had many problems with she, and is this possibly the reason why she was drinking so much?
Look, the issue of Richie and Tash struggling to get kids was there even before Richie and Tash met, and even before Tash and she knew each other. I think there were just medical issues which the family ought to have taken care of.
Kwani bwana nikuulize, unajua sielewi kile kitu namaanisha. Richie hawezi kuzalisha, singejaribu basi na mwanaume mwingine.
This is not the problem. Mimi ndio shida hapa. I got pregnant at the age of 16 with my step brother. My mom learned about it, akaitoa. But the abortion wasn't that successful. Iliharibu nyumba ya uzazi. So, siwezi shika boy sahi.
But having said that, I think it also reaches a time as a man where you would want to leave your progeny. And so, desperate was Richie to get a kid. Whether it was to happen with Tash or not, I think this was just predestined that Tash will have a kid with Richie. I think that was inevitable. But I think if she could have concentrated on taking care of her family, quit drugs, who knows, maybe even alcohol, and that contributed to her not being able to get kids.
Okay, so what was the hardest sin?
Oh, the hardest sin. The hardest sin was that episode where I had to kiss Tash, for me, I would say, in my own house.
Sorry, Tash. So sorry.
But of course, we are actors and actresses, so boom. Nilicheza kama mimi.
Okay, yeah. If you're given an opportunity, which scene would you like to shoot even 10 times?
The scene that I would like shooting 10 times.
You repeat it.
I think I would really want to improve on the scene where Voke gave me a beating.
What is happening?
Hapana, simekwambia tuongelele hizo.
What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Unafanya nini?
Voke! Ati Voke! Nisaidie!
someone is coming there with a knife, you have to pretend as if, you know, you are dying and all that. And then Tash coming to hold me like you know, I really don't want to have that like 10 times. Yeah, so it was nice.
Okay, thank you for your interview. We really appreciated the work you did, because it was one of the hardest work in the telenovela, apart from the work Tash did.
Yeah.
You are the second most featuring person alongside Chity. We appreciate your work, and we are looking forward to season 2.
Yeah.
It's with a lot of enthusiasm.
It's going to be one of a kind.